I'll tell you that oil giant BP has announced it is pausing all shipments of oil through the Red Sea after recent attacks on vessels by Houthi rebels. It made the decision because of the deteriorating security situation, though it says it is temporary. It is a temporary move. A number of freight companies have also suspended their ships after being targeted by Houthis in Yemen. On Monday, one of the world's largest shipping firms said it would no longer carry Israeli cargo via the Red Sea. The Red Sea is one of the world's most important routes for oil and fuel shipments, as well as for consumer goods. Iran-backed Houthi rebels are targeting ships traveling through the Bab al-Mandab Straits, also known as the Gate of Tears, which is a channel 32 kilometers wide and known for being perilous to navigate. Joining us on the news to discuss this is Calvin Dark, President of RC Communications and Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much, Calvin Dark, for talking to us on the news.
Good to be here.
Now, we see that oil giants BP, alongside other oil shipping companies that actually play significant roles in the commodity supply to the global market, are now announcing the suspension of operations in the Red Sea. Now, will that have any monumental impact on the supply side and maybe global price?
Yes, it will definitely affect the global price of energy for two reasons. One, obviously, if BP and other companies have to find alternative routes, that adds time, that adds money, and also instability always adds tension, which ends up adding money. If countries and companies don't feel that they're going to be able to transport their goods, and in this case, energy resources, in an efficient way, then that's going to cause instability in the market. But one of the things that I think is most important about this situation to kind of think about is what is the point, what is the strategic objective of the Houthi rebels and those backed by Iran? Because the reality is that even though it will raise world energy prices, and that will be a challenge for the United States and others, the people who will really pay the price will be those like the Palestinians and like those in the region that don't have another way of finding alternative sources for shipped goods. So strategically, it doesn't make good sense what we see the Houthis in Iran provoking in the region.
It's quite interesting that you are raising this now, because that's actually where I'm going. 6 days ago, it was reported that a missile was fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels. It actually hit a Norwegian-flagged tanker in the Red Sea. So now we're seeing another kind of attack, a similar attack, but another type, around that particular region. So what is the rationale behind, if you can share some insights with us, the rationale behind these sort of attacks by the Houthi rebels? And is it a growing trend that we need to be wary of?
Well, I think that their strategic goal, which I don't think is very strategic, but I think that they would say, as I think one of the groups put out in a statement, that the reason that they have undertaken these attacks is to punish or put pressure on Israel to stop its war against Hamas in Gaza, and by extension, the United States, because the United States, the most powerful backer of Israel, particularly in this conflict. But the problem is that what Iran and the Houthis and everyone aligned with them need to understand is that when it comes to the United States, we've seen opposition to Israel's war with Hamas because of humanitarian reasons. But if this starts being an economic conflict, if Americans start seeing that economically this is not going to help our bottom line, then anybody in the region that's for the Palestinians, that's for the people in Gaza, as the Houthis say they are, they're going to be on the losing end. Because if you want America to really back Israel and other powers in the region to bring stability, then you then threaten the economic situation of the United States and Americans. So it's totally the wrong thing if they want to be strategic.
And talking about threats, Doc, in the attack, that is the previous attack, Houthi military spokesman, that is Brigadier General Yahya Saree, issued a video statement saying the rebels only fired on the vessel when it rejected all warning calls. So I'm wondering, rejected all warning calls, is it that the rebel group is the one actually controlling the cargo routes along the Red Sea? Are they authorized to own the water space to the point of actually threatening economic activities in that axis, knowing fully well that the West and, of course, Europe also have vested interest in this particular economic space?
Well, I think that the Houthis and other groups aligned with them think that they have sovereignty or some type of authority about the shipping that occurs in that area, particularly around the Red Sea. But that doesn't make it so. I know at least for the United States, and I imagine it's the exact same for Europe. They don't, and we don't take direction from the Houthi rebels, and so their claims that they tried to warn that this was like a last ditch effort before they had to attack really makes no sense because they are not on the level to even negotiate or communicate with the United States, American companies, or European countries to, I don't know, work out an agreement of how shipping is supposed to take place. They're not in a position to do that.
So finally, Doc, now the Red Sea is one of the world's most important routes for oil and fuel shipments, as well as for consumer goods. But we see security situation deteriorating in that axis. Are there any solutions to dealing with the rebels' onslaught on oil shipments and cargo shipments in that area?
Unfortunately, I think that the only solution that seems viable now is the military one. And one of the other strategic things I haven't really understood on behalf of Iran and the Houthis is, they're doing things that they think will provoke a spillover of the conflict between Israel and Hamas into the greater region. And it very well might do that. But if that happens, the United States is going to use all of its military might to confront that challenge. So it will only make things more difficult for people in the region. But I don't see anything other than a military option being something that will work to change the situation around the Red Sea.
But do you think that the American government will be willing to use a military intervention for this case? Because you know that the West is also helping Ukraine in its war with Russia. There's also the issue between Israel and Hamas, and now we're looking at another military intervention in this area. Now, wouldn't that be something, let's just say, cost-effective for the West? And of course, in terms of its influence globally, don't you think that would be too much on its side, trying to use a military force to quell this insurgency, if I could put it that way, by the Houthi rebels?
Well, I think the answer has two parts. One, if that were to happen, a spillover, and the United States had to get involved in yet another conflict at a level like we have in the past, that would be putting a lot and would tax a lot of our resources and our attention. That's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is it doesn't matter. The United States will prioritize the military response if that means we have to be in Ukraine, if we have to be in Israel, if we have to be in the Red Sea. And I think what folks in the region have to realize is that now the United States supports Israel because Israel is our ally in the Middle East, and that is a commitment the U.S. has made. But if our goods and energy start costing more, then that becomes a direct threat to the United States economy and our security. And if that happens, the United States will have to do, as we say here in the United States, walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't think the Biden administration wants that, but if they have to, the United States won't back down.
Okay, Calvin, Doc, thank you so much for your contribution on the news.
Thank you.